great points you made about Biden are true. The 3 ways he's becoming a dictator.
Well, so I said that the Republic has fallen. And I did say this on my show earlier, but for those that didn't hear it, so it's hard to know exactly where the line is when you can say the Republic has fallen, but I think we can see it now. And the way to describe it is like a supernova. It happens, and we don't know for how many millions of years until the light finally reaches us. Oh, look, a supernova happened. 10 million. So the collapse happened, and now we're gradually, the light is making its way to us, but it already happened. So let me explain.
Exactly. The borders are collapsing, all of it.
Right. So the first thing I'll say is keep in mind the borders. But before I get to the borders, I'll say this. And everybody who watches probably heard me say something similar, but there is no separation of powers anymore. Joe Biden violated the separation of powers, bypassing Congress by enacting the first eviction moratorium, which stood for a year, basically.
Where the CDC says you don't have to pay your rents, but most people only have one rental property and they go bankrupt if you don't. These
are retirees. So what Biden did with that executive order was effectively seize private property from the public without any resistance at all and no checks. So that bypass, it's an act of Congress. There's a lawsuit. The Supreme Court says, Biden, this is an illegal ruling. You can't do it. So you know what Biden did? I'm going to reenact it again anyway, thus bypassing the legislature twice and the Supreme Court. But he did it again with the new OSHA rule and the vaccine mandates. Once again, the sovereign has decreed, and everyone in this country, not everybody, most of these businesses just go along with it.
Which makes it criminal bullying.
Well, let me get to the better points. What can you do? You as a peasant can petition the courts and say, I have been wronged by the sovereign decree. And if the court agrees with you being wronged, they perhaps may tell the sovereign, try again.
And then he does it again.
And they does it again. And what did the Democrats do? The Democrats are trying to use a budget bill to give citizenship to non-citizens. Now, the Senate parliamentarian says, you can't do that. And what does the left say? The Senate parliamentarian is wrong and it's tyranny. I don't know. I think the Senate parliamentarian it sounds crazy that someone can be like, you can't pass a bill. But for the Democrats to be like, instead of negotiating with the Republicans, because they're the minority and we don't have to, they use workarounds because we have two distinct cultures in this country fighting for centralized power and a sovereign at the top who's ruling by decree. How do you know the Republic has fallen? With all of that being said, illegal immigrants are walking back and forth between the southern border for carry out.
Yep.
When it can be so casual, they can go to get tacos and then walk back into the U.S. and then go back for tacos again the next day. There's no border. There's no jurisdiction. The president is ruling by decree in complete defiance of our laws, our norms, our traditions. And the left says the right's radicalized for rejecting it while they support rule by decree from Cuomo, from Wolf, from Gretchen Whitmer, from Newsom, and they reelect Newsom.
So how do we counter that?
Well, I don't know how familiar you are with James Lindsay's work at New Discourses, but he talks a lot about an essay by a guy named Herbert Marcuse, and I think it was called I forget the name of it, Liberal Tolerance, or not Liberal Tolerance. That was a book by Jonah Goldberg, I think. Repressive Tolerance, that's what it was. Oh. And essentially, it's the thought process that the left generally says that anything that is done by people of the left is acceptable and they'll make excuses for it. And the right, anything that's done by the right has to be shut down even before there's any action taken. So even conversations about what would be considered right-leaning ideas, those must be shut down. And anything that the left does. That's why you saw all last year Antifa and the riots that were going on throughout the U.S. The whole of the liberal media and stuff was making excuses, mostly saying it's okay because it was from the left,
mostly peaceful.
And then exactly. And then anything that the right does is made to seem as terrible as possible, and that's part of why anything that Donald Trump did got enormous amounts of criticism.
And January 6th is a great juxtapose because that was wrong what happened. A few people got out of hand. I said it was wrong day one. But then they're like saying, whoever says demonstrations are peaceful and go out and harass people, go out and attack them. They said that. And then I'm there trying to stop people and the left are putting bounties out to have me arrested. That's a great point.